program. Thank you so much. And as you said earlier, I'm a person of many parts, right? So, but I'm from a very humble background, and I'm from a broken home. Yes, my mom and dad didn't get it right. So right from the time I was 6 years old, my mom left my dad. And that was a very frustrating experience for a very young girl. But like we always say, never allow your background, keep your back on the ground. So I decided, with the help of my dad, because my mom left and she went to do some other things, you know how it is. You know, well, we thank God that whichever way our relationship is still back together, as in my mom and I, you know, she's actually turning 70 very soon. So thank God for her life. You know, so they didn't get it right, and as a little girl, I had to go through a very frustrating little childhood. But I had an innate, what I call an innate potential or talent, which was making things with my hands. I used to make baby doll clothes. When I was 6, 7 years old, I would go to a t-shirt dump. There was one near my house. I would go and pick up pieces of fabric, and then I would put it together, you know, and make baby doll clothes. And then my dad was like, like this girl likes fashion design, right? So even though I had a frustrating childhood, I would cry in school, they would call my dad, your daughter is crying and all of that, I still had to exhibit that talent of fashion design. And you know, going through primary school, secondary school, I was always making things with my hands. I started making my own clothes from the age, I mean my own clothes that I wear from the age of 11, 12. Yes, and I started making money as in terms of doing clothes and making business from the time I left secondary school. So right throughout my university days, I was actually making money, you know, for my friends. You know, to support the little stipend that my father gave me. And you know, stipends are never enough. There's never, they will never be enough. You know, so I said I like doing things with my hands, you know, and I went through life, you know, knowing that it's not about, even though you go through difficult times, there's always a silver lining to the cloud. And that was the silver lining. That was the silver lining, you know. And I studied psychology for my first degree. Now, how did I come about psychology? I'm sure you'll be wondering. Yeah. What's the connection between fashion
and going to psychology?
And going to psychology, it doesn't sound like as if it mixes. The reason why was like, I knew that I was actually going to be a business owner and have my own business and do my own thing. So I was like, I have to go to university. My father said, no, you gotta do university. You have to fulfill the school cycle. He was a lecturer at University of Lagos. Okay. So I don't have a choice. I have to find a way to make sure that I go to university. I said, okay, let's choose a course that will be very easy now. So that at least I will go to university and just enjoy life, enjoy my time.
And meet new people.
So we sat down. I said, okay, my dad and I, we sat down. I said, okay, I like biology. I like English. I don't like maths. So we now looked for a course. And psychology was the course. But guess what? I found that I had to do statistics for 4 years.
And you didn't like mathematics?
I didn't like mathematics, so I found that out in year 1. But poor you. Oh, well, reach me. Because I decided I was going to have to stick with this thing and love it at all costs. And I came out the best in my class. I actually said, I have to do this. I told myself there's no choice, you know. So we're only 2 of us that had 2 in my department. But I got all the praise for that.
What year was that?
That was 1997. Okay. That's when I left university. Went to do youth service like everybody would do. So while I was doing my youth service, like everybody else, I wanted to get a job when I get back, you know, probably do my master's and all of that. Got back, tried to get a job in a bank, tried to get a job in, you know, the big fours, you know, there was this thing then. I mean, I did a lot of aptitude tests. I mean, I know I'm a sharp girl now, you know. I did all the tests and everything. And when I got to the final round, there were just 4 of us and they wanted to pick the best. They just knocked me off with one question, that what is my take on the Niger Delta crisis? This was 1999. And I was like, I was knocked off. I didn't know what to say, and I lost that job and I cried my eyes out. Then my fiance, you know, my husband now, my fiance was like, let's look within. You got the skills. What are you talking about? So we said, okay.
And you remember that?
Oh, yes, I've always been doing it, but you know, there's a way you just commonize what you do well and never really take it as something serious. So we said, okay, let's start business. So at that point, I said, okay, I wanted to diversify, you know, a bit from fashion. I said, okay, let me go into hat making. So we started Henry Hattie. That was in year 2000. So created Henry Hattie, and which was one of our subdivisions under House of Henry, and we started making hats, you know, society hats, wedding hats.
So that means you didn't work for anyone at all since you graduated?
No, I only worked during my youth service. I worked as a teacher of biology. I taught biology while I was in youth service. Biology is one of the courses that we have to do in psychology. So as a secondary school teacher, I remember there, those people that go for youth service, you all have to do something in school. So biology was the next thing I could actually teach, and I taught biology. And I enjoyed it actually. I taught drama also. I'm a drama person. I do drama. I'm sure you can guess. You know, so I taught drama also. And for me, that was all my work life, as you may say, you know. But I'm also a volunteer. I volunteer in teens development. I train teams.
So before you move on to other aspects of you, the other time you were talking, you said you are from a broken home.
Yes.
And it affected you.
Yes.
The program is Women and Society, and we want to correct some ills. Let's look at the effect of broken homes on children. You came out strong and you are doing well. Some people won't come out like that, and it has affected them, and they have transferred what they inherited from their childhood to their adulthood and to their children as well. So let's look at the effects of broken homes on children.
It's really, really very devastating, I must say, and that's why the onus is on us to make sure we get it right before we go into that institution called marriage. Well, to God be the glory, I tend to like teach people when it comes to, you know, relationships and marriage and things like that, probably out of because of my experiences in life. So the onus is on us is to ensure that we are able to choose right, because everything starts from the foundation. If the foundations are correct, things will go on well. But if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? That's what the scripture says. So we need to make sure that when choosing a husband, choosing a wife, or this is a program for women, so when choosing a husband, make sure that you're not carried away by, oh, it's Prince Charming, this and that. No, there has to be, you know, attributes that you believe that this person has to enable you guys have a good standing home. Nobody's perfect, but a home is made up of two imperfect individuals who are both ready to make it work. The reason why things get broken down is that people decide not to make it, and they feel, oh, it can't work, so they're just going to like give up on it. But they've forgotten that even though two elephants are fighting, the grass is going to suffer, and that grass are the children. Because if the children are not considered in this matter, and if God doesn't help the children, they're going to turn out to be probably the same replica of those. I've seen situations where the mother had a couple of husbands. The daughters had the same pattern. They had broken homes, and they also had two husbands, like that.
Like their mother.
Like their mother. Do you understand? So it happens that if those ills are not corrected, start with the foundation, choose right. Allow God lead. I'm not talking as a pastor, I'm just saying let your intuition be in check when choosing a life partner. Be in tune with God. Be sure that that's the person. Have, you know, a mindset that, oh, I'm going to make this work. It's not that only one person is going to make it work. Two people are going to make it work, and you put in all the effort to make sure that you make it work. You understand? Of course, you know, when you also, and get training, get mentorship, get people that you can actually confide in. You know, the reason why things get so spoiled is because we feel like, oh, I don't want a third party. I don't want a third party to know about what's going on in my life. So we tend to hide a lot of things, and bottle up, and you don't get help. Where you can easily nip things in the bud, get help, and then move on, you know, with a beautiful life. You understand? So that's it.
So what's the effect on the children?
The effect on the children, the effect on the children is that, number one, psychologically, because I'm going to talk from what happens to me psychologically, the children will be imbalanced for that period because they don't understand what's going on. They're like, why is my mom not here? Why is my dad? Whether it's mom or dad, both ways. You understand? Why is my mom not here? Why is my dad not here? So they get emotionally imbalanced for that period of time, and then they are drained. So that means that it's going to rob them of their energy to even progress in life. It will make them lose the faith in being what they're supposed to be in life. That is one thing. Then another thing is that, you know, the child, what's that word now? There's a word that I wanted to bring out now. The child learns learns from only one source. So if a child is brought up by a man, only a man, you know that the child, if the child is a girl, will most likely be a tomboy. That's why I actually am a tomboy. But I had to tell myself I had to balance it up. Okay, I can't just always be a tomboy because I'm raised by my dad. I need to have other female influences in my life. And if a guy is raised up only by his mom, he might be his sissy because it's like there's only one mindset. And another thing that happens is that because maybe not a fault to the parent, but you know the parent is also going through a lot of pain and turmoil. So the parent might be always reporting or saying negative things about the other partner. So it builds up what? Aggression and anger towards the other party. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like for in my own case, my dad brought me up, and my mom really was never really around during my growing years. Right from the time I was like from 6, like I told you, she wasn't really around. So the only time I knew when she came out was when I was in university. So what happened between the time I was 6 and the time I was in university, that influence, you know, it's on me.
Yeah.
But you know, because I had to
and you were developing at that
I was developing, you know, so obviously I'm like wondering what's going on, you know. She came back and all of course we made up and all of that, you know, and our relationship in school, I still call her and all of that. Of course, it can never really be the same. And what that does also is that for the child, there is a perspective to life that the child would have, you know, that would tend towards the other person who has taken care of that person. There is no way, you would always be partial towards the other party, but you feel that
it will come naturally.
It will just come naturally. Not beef or anything, it's just normal. I mean, you get my point. Yeah. That's why even while in bringing up my own children too, I realized that I had that gap. So I tried to learn to say, okay, how do I relate to my daughter? My daughter is 19. She's a girl, she's the only girl I have. And I'm like, how do I relate to her to make sure that she doesn't feel that kind of situation? Because I don't know how to relate to it. I didn't know how it was like to relate with my mom during those ages.
So you can't do that.
Yeah, so I really have to rely on God. You know, and books and knowledge and information to be able to say, okay, how do I do this thing right? And thank God I have the best husband in the world who would put me straight.
Thank God you learned and you didn't toe that path.
Yeah, thank God. Give God all the praise.
Now let's look at you said you're a digital marketer.
Yeah.
Digital marketer and the fashion aspect of it.
Yeah.
How did you balance that?
How
are you balancing that?
I didn't even come out and show me
the first place.
Okay. Well, the truth of the matter, like I tell people, is that this brain can take a whole lot. Yes, like I said, my innate passion, my innate talents was to sew. I didn't learn it from anywhere. It was just natural within me. But of course, I went abroad, did a lot of courses just to validate. And in fact, let me tell you something. It was practically like almost like a waste of money traveling abroad to do all these courses. Because when you get it, like, who is this? They're like, no, you guys, are being so much what we're going to teach you here. But you do that to validate, but people, you need to have the certificate to show people. You know, we live in a world now that people want to only trust on certificates. So they want to say, oh, we're going to call it a fashion, Huddersfield University, all those other things. No, it's just for packaging. Yeah, but the innate talent has always been there. Then I also knew that, okay, in life, I veered into all these areas because I wanted to help my business. Like I told you, fashion design is it's multifaceted, all right? So the fashion design we do, my core is actually skills transfer. I love to train people on how to sew because, like, stemming from the time I was in secondary school, I found that a lot of people dropped the course, as in the home economics, the fashion design course. I'm like, why? I found out that it was because of the way the training was being done. People felt that fashion design or sewing or home economics or clothing and textiles was difficult. So I had it in mind that I was going to create materials to put that right. So that was in 2014. We didn't even know that COVID was going to come around. This was in 2014. So in the process of creating online platforms, doing all the things that I learned digital marketing, I learned sales automation, I learned email marketing for my business. So because I was doing that for my business, people were asking, how do you do this? How do you do this? So I now decided to teach it. So we teach courses on app creation. I teach people how to create apps. I teach people how to, you know, how to do sales automation, email marketing, digital marketing, Facebook ads, because I was learning to do it for my business first of all. So it was born out of a need. Even the first apps I created was because I wanted to create a digital pattern app for people who didn't want to draw their patterns. So I thought that I created an app that helps to send digital patterns to people who just want to just get the patterns, print it out, cut it out, and that's it. So in that process, people were like, how do you create this? How do you do this? That's where all these things came up from. So I call myself a techpreneur.
Oh, techpreneur. That's,
yeah.
That's a collection of everything you
that's
do.
It, yes.
Yeah. The way you are talking, it's as if you are so deep into what you are doing. And then let's look at your digital aspect. First, you're a psychologist. Secondly, you're a fashion designer. You're a digital marketer. How are you combining all of this and being a mother too?
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. Wow. It is a big question, but it has a good answer to it.
Okay.
What I would tell people is that you cannot build too many bridges at the same time. You can build a bridge, set a system in place, let it run, and you move to the next bridge. All right? Because you have to balance everything in life. Okay, so when I created, you know, the courses for our online school and all of that, I knew that I wanted to automate our training business. So I created a system that can run even without me being in the center.